Titan had never acted like this before. The sound of the garbage truck had barely echoed down the street when Titan snapped upright from his usual morning nap. His ears shot up, and a low, deep growl rumbled from his throat. Jake looked over, surprised. "What's got into you, boy?" Titan didn't respond. He stood, tense, every muscle ready to spring. His eyes locked on something outside the window. Jake rose from the table, coffee in hand, and walked to the front door. As soon as he cracked it open, Titan lunged. "Hey, Titan, sit!" Jake yelled, but the leash slipped through his fingers. The dog charged down the porch steps, barking like his life depended on it. Jake took off after him. "Titan, stop!" But the dog didn't even glance back. Titan flew down the sidewalk, straight toward the garbage truck that had just rolled to a stop in front of the neighbor's house. Jake's boots slapped against the pavement as he ran, breath catching in his throat. His stomach churned. Titan leaped up onto the metal step of the truck's back end and began barking wildly, pawing at one of the large black trash bags. The garbage man looked over, startled. "What the whose dog is this?" "Mine," Jake shouted, finally catching up. "Titan, get down." But Titan ignored him. He growled at the bag, low and furious, like he'd cornered a suspect back in his working days. The garbage arm lifted the bin, ready to crush its contents. "Wait," Jake yelled. "Turn it off." The driver froze. "What's going on?" Titan let out one more sharp bark, and the bag shifted. Barely noticeable, but Jake saw it too. Did that just move?" Titan whined, his body trembling now. He placed a paw on the bag and looked back at Jake, eyes wide and pleading. The driver jumped down and approached slowly. "You think there's something in there?" Jake's voice cracked. "There's someone in there." The driver hesitated, then tore open the bag with shaking hands. A sour smell filled the air. Inside, wrapped in a thin, dirty blanket, was a baby. Tiny, barely breathing, face red from crying, or maybe from the cold. "Oh my God," the driver whispered. Jake dropped to his knees. "He's still alive," he said, feeling for the baby's breath. "Call 911. The driver scrambled for his phone. Jake, hands trembling, gently held the baby close to his chest. "Hang on, little one," he whispered. "You're okay now." Titan sat beside them, silent now. His tail didn't wag. He just watched the baby, eyes full of something deeper than instinct. Jake looked at him. "You knew, didn't you?" Titan didn't blink. His body was still, alert, as if the job wasn't finished yet. The ambulance arrived minutes later, sirens blaring. Paramedics took the baby, and Jake stood back, hand resting on Titan's back. A crowd had started to form. Neighbors watched in shock as the story began to unfold. No one had seen anything. No one had heard anything. But Titan had. Jake whispered, "You saved that baby's life." Titan licked his hand once, gently, then stared at the ambulance until it disappeared down the street. Jake turned to the driver. "Where was that bag picked up?" The man pointed down the block. "End of the alley, behind the bakery." Jake's eyes narrowed. That was strange. There weren't any houses down there. Titan let out a low grunt. He was facing the alley already. Jake looked down at him. "You're not done yet, are you?" Titan didn't move. And just like that, Jake knew, whatever this was, they were only just getting started. The trash bag twitched. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a trick of the light. Everyone saw it. Titan growled again, louder this time, pawing frantically as if trying to tear through the plastic himself. One of the sanitation workers, his face pale, reached out slowly. I've never seen a dog act like that." "Just get it down," Jake urged, heart pounding. "Carefully." The man nodded and tugged the bag free from the heap. As it hit the ground, a faint, muffled sound escaped from inside, so soft, Jake thought he imagined it. Then the worker ripped it open. Gasps rang out. Even Titan backed up half a step. Inside, wrapped tightly in a filthy, torn blanket, was a baby. A real, living baby. Barely breathing. Face red, lips blue, eyes closed but twitching. Jake dropped to his knees. "Oh my God. Call 911. Now," he barked, looking over at the stunned driver. The man snapped out of his daze and fumbled for his phone. Jake reached into the bag, lifting the baby gently, his hands shaking. The infant's skin was cold. Too cold. "It's okay," Jake whispered. You're safe now. Stay with me. Titan circled them slowly, then lay down next to the baby. His eyes never left the tiny bundle. His tail didn't move. He was still, watchful. Come on, little one, Jake said. Hold on. Sirens screamed in the distance, growing louder. A small crowd had started gathering, people stepping out of homes in pajamas, slippers, and confusion. What happened? Is that a baby? Was it really in the trash? Jake didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat burned, his mind racing. Who could do this? Who could throw away a newborn like garbage? The ambulance screeched to a halt. Paramedics rushed out, and Jake handed the baby over with great care, his arms suddenly feeling empty. Vitals are weak, one medic said. Let's move. The baby was rushed inside. Doors slammed. The vehicle sped off. Titan stood now, staring after it. Jake placed a hand on his back. You found him, buddy. You saved him. But Titan didn't react. His ears twitched. His nose lifted to the air, and he stared down the street, toward the alley behind the bakery. Jake followed his gaze. You think there's more? He asked quietly. Titan's body tensed. His paw lifted slightly. Jake's gut twisted. He turned to one of the workers. That bag. Where exactly did you pick it up? The man blinked, still stunned. That alley. By the bakery dumpster. There aren't any houses down there, Jake muttered. The man shook his head. Just the bakery. It was just sitting there. Seemed heavy. Titan growled again, deep and low. Jake narrowed his eyes. Something's not right. A neighbor spoke up. You think someone left the baby there on purpose? Like, hoping the truck would take it away. Jake didn't answer. He couldn't. Because the idea was too horrible. Too real. He looked down at Titan, whose stare remained locked on the alley. All right, Jake whispered, bending down to his old partner. We're not done. Let's go see what else is waiting. And without another word, Titan turned and began to walk. Not fast, but with purpose. Jake followed. They didn't know what they'd find. But Titan did. He always did. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. The baby, now cleaned and stable, slept in an incubator surrounded by warm light. Nurses moved gently around him, whispering. Jake stood by the glass, arms crossed, eyes locked on the fragile little body. Beside him, Titan sat still, but not calm. His ears twitched. His nose pressed against the baby's blanket, which the nurse had set aside. Then he sniffed again. Harder. He let out a sharp whine. Jake glanced down. What is it, boy? Titan stared at the blanket, then back at Jake. Another sniff. Then he turned toward the door, tail stiff, body alert. You want to go back, Jake said quietly. Back to the alley. Titan barked once, short and certain. Jake grabbed the blanket and stuffed it into his coat. All right. Let's go. Outside, the air was colder than before. The sky hung low with gray clouds, and the streets were mostly empty. As soon as they reached the alley behind the bakery, Titan's nose hit the ground. He pulled hard on the leash, sniffing the concrete in circles. Jake followed, heart racing. Titan stopped at the dumpster where the garbage bag had been found. He sniffed again, then jerked to the side, dragging Jake a few feet down the alley. Easy, boy. Jake called out, but Titan wasn't listening. He was focused, driven. Suddenly, Titan stopped beside a storm drain. He sniffed once, then growled. Jake crouched and looked inside. At first, he saw nothing, just darkness and rust. Then his eyes adjusted. There, tangled in the grate, was a small pink sock. Torn, muddy, tiny. Jake's breath caught. He reached in carefully and pulled it free. A baby doesn't wear socks like this, he muttered. This belongs to someone older. Titan growled again, low and long. Jake stood, eyes scanning the alley. Someone had been watching. Maybe even left the baby there. But they hadn't done it alone, or without fear. Jake looked at the sock, then back at Titan. Was someone else here, boy? Someone who didn't want the baby to be found, or maybe someone who did. Titan took a step toward the other end of the alley. Then another. He turned back, eyes meeting Jake's. You want me to follow? Another bark. Then Titan moved. They followed the alley as it curved around the back of the bakery, through a narrow walkway between buildings. It smelled of damp garbage and old bread. Titan suddenly stopped near a stack of old crates. He sniffed once, barked, then looked up toward the fire escape. Jake followed his gaze. A piece of fabric fluttered from the metal railing above. Pink. Torn. Jake grabbed the sock from his coat and held it up. A perfect match. His stomach dropped. Who was up there? Titan whined again, tail low now. Something about this place made even him uneasy. Jake scanned the windows. All dark. All empty. Someone left that baby on purpose, he said softly. But someone else might have tried to protect him. Titan sat, eyes still locked on the rooftop. Jake crouched beside him. We need to find out who. And fast. Just then, Titan's ears perked up. A faint sound, a shuffle. Like something or someone moving above. Jake stood quickly, hand on his flashlight. Titan growled, nose to the wind. Whatever had happened that morning, it wasn't over. And someone was still watching. Rain slammed against the windows, hard and cold. Jake had barely closed his eyes when Titan let out a sharp bark from the living room. Again. And again. Jake groaned and sat up. Titan, it's the middle of the night. But Titan wasn't just barking. He was pacing, ears up, body alert, tail stiff. Then came the scratching at the door. Not random. Urgent. Jake sighed, grabbed his coat, and opened the door. Titan didn't wait. He bolted into the rain, nose to the ground, ignoring the storm completely. Titan! Jake yelled, chasing after him. The wind howled, blowing rain sideways. Visibility was poor, but Titan didn't slow down. He ran straight back to the alley behind the bakery. Jake caught up, soaked to the bone. Why here again? He muttered. Titan sniffed the wet ground, growled once, then barked sharply. Jake stepped closer and stopped cold. Footprints. Small ones. Barefoot. He knelt down, the rain pelting his shoulders. The prints were shallow but clear, little toes, one foot slightly dragging. A child. Jake's voice dropped. A kid's been out here, in this rain? Titan whined low, then sniffed forward, following the trail. Jake pulled out his phone with shaking fingers. Marla, it's me. You need to get to the alley now. A pause. Yeah, I know it's late. But there's someone else out here. A child. Titan barked again and took off down the alley, veering away from the drain and heading toward the edge of town. Jake followed without a word, heart pounding harder with each step. They reached the abandoned warehouse near the old rail yard. The place had been closed for years. Rusted doors, broken windows, weeds growing through cracks. Titan didn't hesitate. He pushed his nose to the door, gave one short bark, then waited. Jake pushed the door open slowly. It creaked, the sound swallowed by the rain. Inside was dark and damp, filled with old pallets, cardboard, and the smell of mold. Titan patted in carefully, nose twitching. Then he stopped. Jake shined his flashlight toward the corner. A pile of blankets. And something moved. Titan stepped closer, slower now. His ears lowered, his posture calm. The blankets shifted. Then a tiny face peeked out. Big eyes. Wet cheeks. A mess of tangled brown hair. A little girl. She clutched a stuffed bunny tightly, her knuckles white from holding it too long. She looked at Titan, then at Jake, frozen. Jake crouched, voice soft. Hey there, you're safe now. She didn't speak. Titan sat, not moving, just watching her. After a moment, the girl scooted a little closer, still clutching her toy. Jake whispered, "What's your name?" She blinked, lips trembling. Lila. Jake smiled gently. Hi, Lila. I'm Jake. This is Titan. You're not alone anymore. Her voice cracked. Don't let them take my baby brother. Jake froze. What did you say? She sniffled. Don't let them take him. I put him in the bag so the truck would find him. I didn't know what else to do. Jake's heart dropped. You put the baby in the trash bag? Lila nodded, trembling. Mom didn't come back. And the bad man, he said he'd come for us. I had to hide him. I didn't want him to get hurt. Jake felt a lump in his throat. You were trying to save him. Titan moved closer and gently pressed his head against her tiny hand. She burst into tears. Outside, sirens wailed again. Officer Marla had arrived. Jake turned to the door. "Over here." Marla entered, flashlight in hand, her face softening as she saw Lila. Jake looked back at her. "She's the reason that baby lived." Marla knelt beside them. "We've got you, sweetheart. No one's taking you anywhere." Titan stayed by Lila's side, still as stone, as if he already knew this wasn't over. Because if there was a bad man, he was still out there. Lila sat on a bench in the station's back room, wrapped in a dry blanket. Her stuffed bunny was still clutched tightly in one hand, Titan curled at her feet. Jake watched her from the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight. He hadn't stopped thinking about what she said in the warehouse. Marla sat beside her, voice low and calm. "Can you tell me again, sweetie? What happened after your mom left?" Lila hesitated, eyes down. Then she nodded slowly. "Mom went to get food. She told us to stay hidden. She said someone bad was looking for her." Jake leaned in. "And she didn't come back?" Lila shook her head. It got dark. Then he came. "Who?" Marla asked gently. Lila's lip trembled. "The man with the hat. He had keys, like a janitor. Said he'd take care of us." Marla exchanged a glance with Jake. "He locked us in the warehouse," Lila whispered. "Said we'd be safe there. But I didn't believe him. I waited until he left, then I ran. I couldn't carry my brother very far, so I put him in the bag. I knew the truck came in the morning." Jake's throat tightened. "You thought someone would find him." "I just wanted someone to help us," she said, voice cracking. Titan nuzzled her hand, warm and steady. Lila gripped his fur, burying her face in his neck. Marla stood and pulled Jake aside. "This isn't just some neglect case. Someone targeted them." Jake nodded. "And the mom, she might still be alive." "We've got to work fast," Marla said. "That man could be anywhere." Jake looked at Lila, then down at Titan. "He's not done yet. He'll lead us." Hours passed. Morning light broke through the clouds. Titan paced, ears flicking, nose twitching. Lila had fallen asleep on a cot in the corner, but Jake stayed close, scanning the maps spread across the table. Then Titan froze. He sniffed the air once, twice, then barked sharply. Jake turned. "You smell something, boy." Titan bolted for the door. Marla grabbed her keys. "Let's go." Titan led them away from the station, down toward the edge of town, past the bakery, through an old service road, and into a row of run-down motels near the freeway. He stopped outside one with peeling paint and a flickering vacancy sign. Room 6. Jake crept up first, hand on his sidearm. He pressed his ear to the door. Faint voices. One male. One weak. Female. "She's in there," he whispered. Marla nodded. "Let's take him." They kicked in the door. The man spun, shocked. The woman on the floor gasped, her hands tied, lip bruised. She looked up, eyes wide. "Lila," she croaked. Titan lunged, teeth bared, pinning the man against the wall. Jake cuffed him while Marla rushed to the woman's side. "It's over," she said. "We've got your kids." The woman sobbed, shaking. "You found them." Jake helped her sit up. "Your daughter's a hero. She saved her baby brother." Titan released his grip but didn't move far. He stood watch, growling low as the man was dragged out in cuffs. The nightmare was ending. But for Lila, for her baby brother, and for the mother now free, this wasn't just rescue. It was survival. The man barely made it 5 feet before Titan lunged. Jake had seen Titan in action during their years on the force, but nothing had ever felt quite like this. There was no hesitation, no mercy. Just a flash of fur and fury as the dog brought the man to the ground with a force that stunned the entire hallway. The suspect screamed, trying to crawl away, but Titan held him firm, teeth bared, eyes burning. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just stared, like he knew exactly who this man was and what he had done. Jake rushed in, cuffing the guy with practiced hands. "It's over," he said coldly. Titan let go the moment the cuffs clicked shut. He turned back toward the motel room, ears up, as if checking to make sure the mother was still okay. She was. Paramedics were already lifting her onto a stretcher, her bruised face full of tears and quiet relief. "Where's Lila?" she asked, her voice weak. "She's safe," Jake replied, kneeling beside her. "She saved her baby brother. You raised a brave little girl." The woman's eyes filled. Thank you for finding us. But Jake shook his head and looked down at Titan. Don't thank me. Back at the station, news had already spread. People gathered outside. Some brought flowers. Others brought toys and blankets. The baby was still in the hospital, but out of danger. Lila was sleeping peacefully, finally without fear. Jake watched through the glass as Titan sat beside her cot, eyes half closed but alert. No one had asked him to stay. He just did. Later that week, the town hosted a small ceremony in front of City Hall. The mayor spoke. Officers lined up in uniform. But it wasn't the officials people came to see. It was the dog. Titan walked up beside Jake, calm and proud, his service vest brushed clean. When Lila saw him, she let go of her mother's hand and ran to him. Without a word, she wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur. He found us when no one else would, she said softly, voice shaking. Titan gave a soft wag of his tail. The crowd clapped. Some wiped tears. The mayor handed Jake a plaque. For outstanding service and extraordinary bravery, this town recognizes Officer Titan as a hero. Jake looked down at his partner. He doesn't need a title. He knows who he is. After the crowd thinned and the cameras disappeared, Jake sat on the steps of City Hall, Titan at his side. Lila sat between them, her bunny in one hand and Titan's fur in the other. You think he'll always protect us? She asked. Jake smiled. He already has. Titan looked up at them both, eyes soft, tail brushing the ground. He didn't need words. His work wasn't about speeches or ceremonies. It was about instinct, loyalty, love, and justice. In his eyes, it had already been served. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful true-to-life animal stories. Share this with someone who believes in second chances and the incredible bond between humans and animals. And tell us in the comments, what would you say to Titan if you could? We read every one.